So that was Sal from WFAN giving a scathing review. Fed up with Jones. Everyone's fed up with Jones. My optimism is dead. We're going to get into a lot of stuff tonight. We are truly three angry Giant fans, and I'm sure the Jets fans not even that happy after what happened on Monday night. But this is your host Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and angry Jets fan Novak. And guys, I I am the eternal optimist, and I went into that game, and it took me exactly one series of offensive football to say, what the fuck are we doing? And then after we got the fumble and turned it into a measly 3 points, and then gave up a touchdown after that, and the game disintegrated, I was left in disbelief, and I am now shattered here, saying that the Giants season is over, Daniel Jones is done, and we're completely fucked, and this is week one.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's not wrong. You're not wrong. Nobody's wrong because everybody said the Giants were going to suck, except for some of us on the more optimistic side of it, and they suck. I mean, is there time to pull this thing together? Of course, you don't want to panic after week one, but this is just Cardone said it many times. I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, Cardone, but many times on Sunday. What's different? What's different? Why would we expect anything different? The only optimism I had on Sunday was the first half of that game was very reminiscent about the week one game we came back and beat the Titans a couple years ago. The first half of that game was almost identical. So even though it was not looking good at halftime, I was hopeful. That got dashed very quickly.
Yeah, this is not again, we've had a number of these games over the last several years since we've been doing this pod, right? Where there's no X's and O's. There's no this isn't like, oh man, if only this call had gone that way, or if this play had gone that way, something like, a turning point. This is one of those just absolute shit shows. Week one, it's week one, guys. And I said this to myself. I'm like, I think we were texting amongst ourselves, right? Like, I don't want to be that overreacting guy. I don't want to be that contradictory guy, like week one, but I think it's justified. I think what we saw on Sunday and that performance on both sides of the ball, and we'll get into it, guys. We'll get into all of it. But that is there. My biggest concern is two things, really. The biggest thing is week one. You wait all season for this. And guys, I feel like we don't have a team. We don't have a season. There's nothing to look forward to. And secondly, and more long term, I don't know where the Giants need to go to fix this anymore. I just don't. We'll get into all the other stuff, guys. But I feel hopeless, demoralized, devastated, and just absolutely depressed about this Giants state of affairs right now with this team. They are deplorable, man. I don't know how many adjectives I just threw in there. They all started with a D for some reason, but I mean, guys, I don't know where to go after this.
So before we get into everything, because we are going to get into a lot of stuff tonight, we got a lot of listener questions, we got pet peeves, we have a lot of observations, but let's give a shout out. One of the happier times on the pod this week, probably. Hello, Forest City, North Carolina, population 7,377. It is actually named after a prominent citizen in 1887, Forrest Davis. So it's not a forest city because of the trees. But they should have stuck with the original name. It was formerly known as Burnt Chimney. It is the home of the Forest City Owls of the Summer Baseball League. But Burnt Chimney, man, that probably is right up there with Antelopeville for me.
Yeah, these towns changing their names when they really had it right the first time. I mean, I don't. Burnt Chimney. Now, see, I don't give a crap where Forest City came from. I couldn't care less. I want to know the story behind Burnt Chimney, North Carolina.
That sounds like a good time.
So, breaking down the Giants-Vikings game, guys, we made Sam Darnold first off look like a Pro Bowler, but you can't walk out of this game without talking about Daniel Jones and where we go from here. We got a lot of questions about Daniel Jones. We don't have to go too deep into it on this segment, but I will throw this out there just to start because this is what I think it all boiled down to. We had no throws over 20 yards. We didn't even attempt a pass over 20 yards. And at first I was really angry about that Adoree Jackson pass interference call that was complete bullshit. But I want to highlight something about that play. Sam Darnold threw a ball horrifically poor, underthrown. Adoree Jackson's in position to make the play. He gets mugged by the Vikings wide receiver. They call defensive pass interference. Vikings get the ball. They go in and they score. And basically any momentum that was in the game changed. Because if you remember at that time, it was 3-0 Giants, 3rd and 8 for the Vikings. They're going to have to punt.
Thought it was 3rd and 13.
It might have been 3rd and 13. It was third and long.
Yeah.
Anyway, they would have had to punt. No, they get a bullshit call, which actually should have been offensive pass interference. But here's my point. Daniel Jones didn't even throw a ball up like that for his receivers. And you throw a ball up like that, even if it's a poor throw, you might get a defensive pass interference. You might get something that happens that changes the momentum of the game. And the biggest problem I have, and it's almost worse for me this year than it was that Dallas game, it felt like we didn't even try. We didn't even attempt to go downfield. Even, let's say the Vikings were playing a cover 2. They were playing a shell. The deep routes weren't always there, but we didn't even try to soften them up with the run or anything like that to open up the deep play. So we didn't even try. We didn't try a deep throw. We have Hyatt, we have Neighbors, we have Slayton. We didn't throw a ball over 20 yards. I don't know how that's not possible in this day and age in a quarterback heavy offensive first league.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to say? Several times Jones pulled down, not pump fake. They were not pump fakes. You could see he had a read. He wanted to go there. He came off it and just started running around like a chicken with his head cut off behind an offensive line that did not play a bad game. This game ended up, exactly the opposite of what I thought it would be. I thought Darnold would look like Jones. I thought Jones would look like Darnold. This game completely unraveled in the way I thought it would for Minnesota.
Guys, we did this in front of how many Giant great players too?
That was horrific.
Well, I don't know if it's me, guys, but I don't know how many times we bring, those legendary Giants out. And it just doesn't always seem like we never win those games. We never win the game that LT's on the sidelines or Sims and Banks up in the booth there and Eli coming back. We never win those games. We don't win games in the red jerseys. We certainly don't win games in these fucking throwback pajamas, Montreal Canadian jerseys, whatever. I don't even want to talk about the uniforms because it means nothing. But I want to go back to just a funny text that we received during the game. It comes from my brother, right, who was at the game. That poor bastard had to sit there and watch it in person. But I want to go back to the PI play because, Scott, you just broke down the PI perfectly where we know it wasn't pass interference. But here's the thing about that play. The funniest thing was Greg said, he goes, as the play occurred, keep in mind, we were up 3-0 first quarter. And after the PI, Greg goes, not game. He goes, season's over. Season's over on the PI. Remember, Mike? I was saying, look at what Greg just texted. We're like, season's over. We just because that's what it felt like that. It felt like that. But guys, I just had to look at some of the stats. I'm a stat guy. I like to look at these things. New York Giants, first half, 5 possessions. They had 68 yards of total offense at halftime. And I always say, we trot this one out there all the time. Can you guys tell me of any semblance? Novak, chime in as well. I mean, what was the game plan? Offensively, what is the game plan? We watch a lot of football. We had all the games on. We're sitting there, the 1:00 games, and you look around the league, and every team looks like they have some semblance of what they have an idea of what they want to do on offense. That's what drives me crazy. As bad as Jones is, and it doesn't even – we know that. Now we know the guy just sucks because I've heard all week since the game, people are trying to, say, hey, Cardone, it's only one game, or, maybe his knee or the offensive line, whatever you want to call it. No, maybe the guy just sucks. And I'm contradicting myself now with Jones, because I've been defending the guy and we've been backing him up. We've been burying the offensive line, rightfully so, since he's, come into the league. But now I think the guy, but aside from him, guys, Brian Daboll and the entire coaching staff, and aside from how poorly the offensive game plan looked, why does the defense have to suck ass? Like what? Why are they giving up a 99-yard drive to Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings? Why does that have to happen? I think didn't Dexter Lawrence, they got to Sam Darnold once, I think on the opening drive.
It was the opening drive, yeah.
Opening drive, right? We're feeling good, like, oh, they're going to get after Darnold all day. There's going to be pressure all day. Where Burns, Thibodeau, okay, all these guys. I'm sick and tired of the fucking defensive guys too. These high-profile names, these stars that we have. These guys don't do anything to shake up a game. All around an F- for the performance. I feel like I'm just spewing out just whatever, but I don't know where you want to go next, Scott, on this.
Well, I mean, you touched upon a lot of stuff, and the play calling was suspect. Like there was no offensive plan. We kept throwing these screen passes that seemed like we were telegraphing them. That happened on the pick six.
Yep.
What do you think's going to happen when you motion Wan'Dale Robinson behind three other wide receivers? Where do you think that play is going to go? The defense knew right away. The Viking players knew it. And I think part of the reason my optimism's so shattered right now is that I saw that game and I looked at it. I said, I don't think Daniel Jones comes back from this. We'll talk about this in a little bit on when, does he get replaced, when he gets replaced. I hope he proves me wrong finally. But this was a game where it just reality smacked me in the face and said, this guy used to be accurate. Now after the injuries, he's not even accurate anymore. He's not attempting a deep ball because he's too afraid either of making a mistake or he doesn't see anything or he's not processing right. All of this happens. And on top of it, we had a roster management issue too. We went into that game with 51 players on the roster and Gunnar Olszewski got injured in pregame warmups. We didn't even have a punt returner to go to. We threw Slayton back there because he's done it before. So we went into that game with two less players than we needed, and then one of them got injured. I don't know how we're not a functioning football team. You said it earlier, Cardone. We're not a football team.
No. The whole thing needs an enema. I mean, it really does. And Dable's not going anywhere, anytime soon, I don't think. And unless everyone stays healthy, and this thing just continues this year and we're picking in the top three, I mean, maybe. But what really pissed me off this week, and Cardone kind of alluded to it there. So Cardone, Novak, and I are sitting in a bar, and we got the Giants game on right in front of us, several other games going on around us. So here's the Steelers without an NFL quarterback, just hanging in there on the road, just giving it everything they got, come out with a win. I think everyone probably knew the Bills were going to end up winning that game, but the Cardinals gave them hell. The Patriots beat the Bengals. How come these teams that we know these rosters aren't that much worse than the Giants or that much better, I should say? How are they just hanging in games against good teams?
You want a good stat? The Bears are the only team in NFL history to overcome a 14-point deficit without scoring an offensive touchdown and win.
They've been doing that since since the Denny Green rant. If you go back to that game, this Chicago Bear team, But Mike, I had that note written down. I'm glad you brought it up because I just have it in my notes here. Like other teams rise up, and you just named the exact four teams. The one team you didn't mention, I have the Minnesota Vikings on my my notes.
Yep.
The Vikings rose up on the road with Sam Darnold, right? Who wasn't even their starting week one quarterback, going into preseason, and he just sliced and diced up this New York Giant team on the road. But you mentioned, New England, Arizona, Pittsburgh, all those other teams. We were saying but guys, I was going to bring this up. I wasn't sure what time, I was going to bring this up tonight, but I heard, saw one team statistic. This says it all, guys. And I know we've talked about this, but I really want to emphasize this statistic right now for the rest of this year and who we are. The last 10 years, the New York Giants record in 10 seasons and one game is 60, 103, and 1. So do the simple math, guys. You can round that down to 100. 60, 103, 100. So we are a 6-10 team for a fucking decade. That's 10 years, guys. This is who we are. This is what we are, who we are, and who we will remain to be. We are now. I used to make fun of the Lions, the Bengals of old, the Jets. Novak's pointing to his jersey, of course. The Cardinals, the Buccaneers. These teams that have had decade-long runs of being perennially at the bottom of the NFL, losing 10 plus games a year. Well, guess what? The New York fucking football Giants are now that franchise. And guys, I think it's time I finally realized it. I finally realized I've been kind of saying it, but now when you see that statistics, when you see just the win-loss record, forget everything else. And this is different. What I don't understand, guys, because now that means it's a cultural thing. It's a franchise thing. We're now a losing franchise. Think about that, guys. We are now that franchise in the league. And I know, Novak, you have the Jets, have that streak of not making the playoffs. What is it now? 13 years or some shit like that?
It'll be 14 years this year.
Okay. Yeah. So, let's roll the Jets in there just, along with the Giants now. But the Giants, guys, I'm afraid to say we are that team. Because when you're 6-10 on average for a decade, what else is there to say? And guys, it doesn't matter. We've had coaching changes. We've had GM changes. We've had obviously the roster changes every single year. So I think we're knowledgeable and intelligent football fans. And guys, I have no explanation for this, and nor do I have any idea on how this needs to change anymore. I don't know.
I have a question for you guys, because in a total outsider's perspective, not throwing shade, because I'm curious as to your answer. Why does no one talk about Joe Schoen? He doesn't seem like there's a plan here. He let Saquon Barkley go. He's going to replace him with Devin Singletary. He's given a shit ton of money with Daniel Jones. Like, okay, so you guys thought he was going to be fine? He should know. You're not GMs. We could draft Malik Neighbors. That's not hard. And he drafted Evan Neal. Thibodeau seems to be not a bust. He's not that good. So I don't know why no one is talking about Joe Schoen.
His name finally came up, Novak, and of all chops, it was Orlovsky. Said, did anybody? Yeah, I saw the soundbite, because I didn't watch a lot of any of that nonsense the last couple of days. I can't stomach it, but I did see the one bite from Orlovsky of all guys, and said, did anybody have a worse weekend than Joe Schoen? Yeah. And he went back, and again, we didn't even bring up. I mean, our weekend. Let's be honest, guys. Our weekend started with Saquon going off on Friday night against Green Bay. No doubt, the 3 times. I mean, could you write? Was that hard to script that outcome and Saquon Barkley having that game? I mean, it's just so token typical and just so. It's unbelievable how easy it was to predict that. But Novak, Orlovsky of all guys, brought it up and said, and I thought about it. I'm like, holy shit, yeah, like absolutely.
Because what has he done well?
I don't know.
Can you? Tell me one thing.
I off the top of my head, well,
it's been 3 years.
I know, and I can't point to anything, guys. I don't know.
Brian
help
Burns,
me out.
The Brian Burns trade. If he plays well this year, there's a couple of draft picks in there, but overall, the draft 3 years ago was terrible.
Yeah, right.
So it's it's not like he's been stellar across the board.
I don't think our personnel fits this new coordinator. And, I was afraid of this, and you say, okay, guys change, they get new personnel, they can change. But this guy is known for sort of between the 20s, teams get yards, and then he tightens up. Well, that's not how we're going to be able to do this. Our entire defense is based around getting to the passer. And we said early on, it's easy to forget now, Cardone, we were talking about at the game, we're getting home. They were getting home early, and then we backed off. Yeah. Darnold had a couple of completions, and we backed off. Like it's you can't coach scared like that.
Yeah,
Darnold's not going to, unless you hand it to him. Darnold's not going to do that all day with constant pressure. He's going to make 2-3 mistakes. That's really all we need.
And I felt like Brian Flores did the opposite. He sat back and said, Daniel Jones, come and beat me. And he rushed 4 people, and they were getting home with 4 people. I will say this. The offensive line was better than it has been. Yeah. It wasn't – it was average, which has been a step up from what it has been.
Huge step up.
But there were times the Vikings blitzed like 30% of the time, where Flores is usually known for blitzing almost 2/3 of the time, and they were still getting home, and he's just back there playing an umbrella coverage saying, Daniel Jones, come beat me. And when Daniel Jones started pressing, he started throwing interceptions.
And if you watch that interception by Van Ginkel, he knew that play.
Yeah. I don't put that on Jones, actually.
He 2 steps back and waited for that throw. It's not like he did one of those things where like, oh my God, it's in my hands. Like he was waiting for that.
Yeah.
So is there just no creativity? I mean, I don't know.
Well, there is no creativity, Novak, and the reason is like in the NFL, I'm a big believer of you've got to get the defense. You got to have pre-snap motion. You got to do misdirections. You got to do pump fakes. You got to do up and outs and go. And the Giants seem to do none of that, right? We never hit a guy in stride. We don't have a seam pass. We don't have a time. We have nothing every freaking year. It doesn't matter the down distance. I'm so sick to death of watching our receivers go out, do a 5-7 yard hitch and have their back to the defender where the guy's just draped, no separation. There's no chance for yards after a catch. There's none of that. Nothing looks different ever with this New York Giant offense. Nothing. And now we have no Barkley to at least having Barkley, even though we didn't know how to use him. We didn't know how to we didn't know how to use that talented football player. At least once in a while to have him back there, the chance just to break a long one here and there. It did happen occasionally. Now we don't have that. The Giants. They're screwed, man. That they are screwed.
So I know we'll get back to the topic as we preview the Redskin game and then in our listener questions. But to pivot for a second. Novak, I mean, Jets go out to San Francisco on a Monday night. No Christian McCaffrey. And this is interesting to me. I didn't know this. The 32-19 score was a scoregami. So it's the 1,095th unique score in NFL history. But I'll tell you this. My mind, Rodgers looked old. He started to show his age.
Yes and no. I mean, I thought he did, but understand what we've been dealing with from under center for the last, 25 years. To me, he was actually an improvement. I didn't think he looked terrible. He actually orchestrated a couple of drives, and one I think I texted you guys mistakenly saying, finally, this is the best drive we've had in 20 years because he actually was capable behind center. So I am actually not as concerned about Rodgers. Look, he's going to have rust. It's 18 months. He hasn't played with the Achilles, new team, the whole thing. And, it was actually helpful to watch the game with you guys on Sunday because as bad as the Giants were, the Jets were bad too. They weren't as bad as the Giants. No. So I actually wasn't that upset. Few minor things they need to clean up. Garrett Wilson needs to get his feet in bounds. If you want to be an elite receiver, you got to do that. Breece Hall can't fumble. They need to tackle better. But my biggest issue with the Jets wasn't the offense, even though we only got 19 points and, didn't do much after the first quarter. My issue was Saleh. How are they not ready to play? He knows San Francisco, and this defense was supposed to be this vaunted Jet defense was awful after mid-second quarter. They couldn't stop them. They had the Niners had 38 runs. The Jets had 48 offensive plays. That's how poor and how much time of possession that the Niners had. And Saleh was 100% outcoached by Shanahan, who is the best coach in the league. I'm convinced of that. Because this guy Mason is a fucking Hall of Famer all of a sudden because going up against that vaunted Jets D. It's bullshit. This team better be ready on Sunday. That's all I got to tell you. Because they did not show up. And I'll give them a mulligan. I'll give them a breakfast ball. Whatever they want. That's fine. Show up on Sunday.
Breakfast ball. I always loved that term.
That's a good one. The thing that, listening to Novak's rant right there, which, he's complaining about his team. I'm listening to him. Those are football things, right, Cardone? Those are football things that he's complaining about. It's not organization-wide just failures at every level. It's like, we got to keep our feet in bounds. God, I wish the Giants had fucking problems like that.
Like you have a roster. You have an NFL roster, Novak. You'll be fine this week. So we'll get into that. Because let me go and I know we all know this, but I watched almost that entire game on Monday, and let me tell you something. The San Francisco 49ers. I mean that's a fucking NFL team. That is a championship caliber. Yeah, I mean. Just watching that game, to your point, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow, the Jet defense is flying around. They were making some plays early. But think about the Niners guys just for a second. The CMC goes out. What other team has a caliber player of CMC, out, whether I heard rumors that they actually knew that he wasn't going to be playing from, a couple days ago or some crap like that or whatever.
That's what the running back let slip.
Right. Exactly. Mason left that slip or something like that. Right. Whatever. But guys, so Novak, I'm sure you could take that away. Weren't expecting the Jets to win that game anyway. I don't think, right? I mean, we all predicted the Jets to lose.
Not, no.
Right. So the Niners are we know are a Super Bowl team. But so at least you have, going into the week, like Mike just said, the Jets, they'll be fine. I know we'll make our predictions later, but yeah, you have a roster. We it's not even comparable. I mean, you played possibly the best team in the league.
I agree. You think about, they had a 40-yard pass to a fullback.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Look at the weapons on that team. CMC goes, Ayuk and Debo and Kittle and Jennings and a fucking fullback burning the Jets.
Yeah.
That's what makes it that much more depressing as a Giant fan, because you see teams like the Niners, even the Cowboys opening day, they look like teams. They look like how the hell are we ever going to meet their caliber?
How are we in the same league? We're in the same league as those teams? How?
Yeah. The Giants should be relegated to Canadian football right now for a couple of years. They should be relegated there until they win the championship. Then they can come back.
Maybe we'd learn how to run motion then.
Yeah.
They always have like 6 guys going in motion. Running forward.
I'm so glad we're sending the Giants and the Panthers to Germany. Fuck you, Goodell.
Exactly.
we're like, Germany's gonna be like, no more games.
They're gonna turn them away. They're gonna go back and play in Charlotte. You actually might
don't need any more.
We don't need it.
I saw a meme today. Sorry, Cardone. It said, "Oh my God, Giants and Panthers in Munich. What did Germany do to deserve this?" And someone responded and said, "You know goddamn well what they did."
But in a way, guy, I thought about it another way. I'm like, the NFL still actually wins with this, because if that game was here in Charlotte, there'd be a fucking empty stadium. It would be one, like, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that game is in Germany, that these they don't know the difference out there. It'll be a packed stadium. Fans will be going wild. There'll be a wave going. They'll be watching a 6-3 game in the fourth quarter, and there'll be like people will be going bonkers out there. Put that game here in Charlotte, and it would be a disaster. So the NFL still wins. They still win.
Good point.
That's a good point.
I know you talked about the game that we watched in Carolina when Gano kicked the long field goal.
Yeah.
When we did the live show, and my son and I were in a section, and there were a bunch of Panther fans up there, and this one guy, I don't know what his nationality was. He just kept saying all game long, "Let's go Cam Newton," like that. When they were on defense, he was going, "Go Cam Newton." And I'm like, you're on fucking defense. What the hell is going on here? That's what's going to be in Germany. 70,000 people doing that shit.
Absolutely. We all that was the game Cam Newton infamously spiked the ball on 4th down, remember? And they never No.
I don't know if I ever I don't even know if I've told you guys this, but from my seats in that game, if there was no net behind the thing, I would have caught that football. It came right at me.
That's
awesome. It came right at me.
I could just see Mike like a baseball game. The opposition hits the ball into like a home run ball. You're throwing the ball back.
So let's get into the previews of the games this week. We got the Giants-Redskins, Giants-Commanders. The big story going into this to me was going to be if Jones was the starter. Jones is still the starter. I think if the Giants have another half like they had against the Vikings, we could see Drew Lock in the second half. There's going to be a question later about this, whether we want to see Lock or DeVito. So let's hold off on that discussion. But guys, I think the clock is on Daniel Jones right now. And the problem I have is once Jones is out, we don't have another quarterback on the roster that's going to compete and have us compete. So it's a lost season. It could be a lost season right now anyway. We always play well against the Commanders, against Washington. Will that happen here? I don't know. What we're going to get to our prediction right after we do the recap here. But I what I want to see is if we can, don't act like us fans. The players put all of that behind you, put all that bullshit behind you, go out and play a football game and look like an NFL team.
That's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know how you bounce back from a performance like that. And not just because the performance was so bad, but just because the Giants thought they were going to win this game. They did not think they were going into a tough game here. They had a cushy opponent at home. Minnesota still, they might win 7 games. They're not good. They're not anywhere near as good as they looked. And the Giants still know that. You can't get beat like that at home by a team of the caliber of the Minnesota Vikings. You can't. So I don't know if they can recover from that. B, I don't know if they're capable of recovering from that. I don't know that we didn't see exactly who they are.
Yeah, I think it all hinges. A lot of it hinges on. Here's the thing with Daniel Jones, and I know we're murdering the guys. As I think that if you guys notice, like his whole career, and us included, we've been kind of giving him a pass, right, for the offensive line and not not having great talent, maybe to receive on the receivers and that kind of thing. There's never been more heat and pressure on Jones, and I don't think he has the capability to overcome that. So he's going to be hearing it. If he throws even his first incomplete, there's a lot of Giant fans at Washington. There always is. It's probably better that the Giants are playing on the road this week rather than in front of the home crowd. But Jones, I mean, if he, like you said, if he has even a bad series or a bad half or a quarter or whatever to start the game, we might see a replacement quick because now Daboll's under pressure to make a move, and that's part of my pet peeve a little bit later. But I want to see, like, and Jones may not be healthy physically, and he may never, he may have never really come clean on that. Who knows? But I'm not giving that guy excuses anymore for that. But the biggest thing for this game in Washington is that I don't know that Jones has the ability. You just said it, Mike. I don't know if they have the ability to come back. I just don't see how you turn around, from that performance on Sunday to come out and all of a sudden play a crisp, clean, hard fought, well planned, well orchestrated game. I don't see it. I'm telling you right now, guys, I will not be predicting the Giants to win anything until they have to just go and do it. That's it, because I don't see it. And it starts and not that Washington, I watched some of their game and they got beat up pretty good by Tampa, right? But I don't know that I just don't think the Giants have the bounce back ability right now. They got to they prove me wrong. That's fine, but I don't see it.
So Novak, the Jets have the Titans this week, and the Titans were the team that had a 2-touchdown lead against the Bears. Special teams imploded on them. Will Levis made a couple terrible throws. They imploded down the stretch. Caleb Williams had less than 100 yards passing, and still the Bears won the game. I think he was 50% in passing as well as under 100 yards, and yet the Bears found a way to win. I have to believe the Titans are probably right now at a low point and ripe for the picking, but I'll get your take on that.
Well, look, I hate saying must win. I really do in week 2 because, the Jets have enough talent that it shouldn't be must win, but it is. You can't go out on Monday night like that with all this hoopla around the Jets and they're this great roster and all this stuff, and then go out and shit the bed against Tennessee. Tennessee looks terrible. They've got I think a bad second-year quarterback. They don't have any weapons to speak of. I don't know much about this. I don't even know who the coach is. Like, this is the most nondescript team in all of the NFL, and the Jets cannot, and I don't think they will, but they cannot come out here and lay another egg. They just can't. So I think that they're going to try to get some more players involved. They were too heavy on Breece Hall this week. It's like they didn't even run anyone until the game was over. I'd like to see Mike Williams get involved a little bit more, and I think he will. I'd like to see Tyler Conklin, the tight end, to get some looks because he didn't. And this defense better come out with Cardone's favorite word, some damn fervor.
Yeah.
So predictions for the Giants Commanders. I'll start with.
We got to start with. We got to. Let me hang on.
Oh.
I got to interrupt. Sorry, Scott. Got to give a breakdown. Novak went 2-0 in predicting the game.
Yep.
The rest of us each went 1-1 because we were dumb enough to pick the New York Giants. So Novak, by the rule we put in place at the end of last year, Novak has to go first.
Oh, okay.
Does Novak get offended when you call him by his last name, like Bernstein?
I don't want to be called anything else because you're Scott. You're the man, so I can't be anything else. So for my Giants prediction, I'll say this: you guys could not have a worse opponent than the Commanders, and the reason being, you have owned them for years. This is the last team you want. You needed like a nondescript shit team like the Titans or the Seahawks or one of these other teams that no one gives a crap about. You can't go out and lose this game, but I think you will. I just, after watching that game, all you have to do is take away Neighbors. And where do you score? Who is going to score? Who is a threat? I just don't see one. So because of that, I think the Commanders win this game 9-6.
Wow.
9-6.
Couple 3-run homers.
Is that 2 field goals or is that a touchdown and a missed extra point?
I don't know who their kicker is, so I'm going to go 3 field goals for the Commanders and 2 for the Giants.
All right. Because that means the Giants will have gone 2 straight games without scoring a touchdown. So
Novak's predicting a single-digit game.
Cardone is up next.
I mean, I certainly don't have the score as gross as that, but I mean, Novak, you brought up an excellent point there. I don't know. Yeah, I don't care who the Giants are playing this week. We obviously, and I don't even know, guys, based on what we think is going to happen, we just went on a rant as far as how this franchise sucks. So there are no must wins for us. It's just, this is now just show up and just show up. I don't even know how to, what we're even looking for. I don't see how the Giants can score that many points. The Commanders, Jaden Daniels, I don't know. I watched some of that game. I don't know how well he's going to play. I don't have a great breakdown of how this game's going to go, other than I got Washington winning 24-13. Giants start the season 0-2. But to your point, 13, that means the Giants score a touchdown in or somewhere. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Neighbors breaks loose for, gets behind the defense, or maybe there's some kind of PI or something, and who knows. But I got the Giants losing by double digits.
Scotty.
So, I watched some of the Commanders game, and it was funny. In a blowout, Jaden Daniels scores at the end of the game, and this young man is going to be an incredible quarterback for years to come. And I'm like, he scored and he celebrated in a game when they're getting crushed by the Buccaneers. I wasn't too impressed with their offense. However, I cannot. I'm on the Cardone train. I can't pick the Giants to win a game until they prove that they can do that. Because from a mental standpoint, I don't know how they come back from what happened in the game against Minnesota. Weird things happen in Giant Washington games, and it's usually a lot of scoring. It's usually some odd plays that happen in there, and it usually comes down to the end. I don't think this is going to come down to the end, but the Giants are going to get at least a touchdown, and they're going to lose 27-17. I actually have them scoring 2 touchdowns.
27-17. All right, guys, you ready?
Yeah.
Whenever the Giants need a win badly, the Washington Redskins show up on the schedule.
It's true.
And this time they show up with a rookie quarterback who did not look good. And I think a little bit of an overhyped defense. And so I'm going to say Washington wins this game 31-17.
Oh.
That was great. I was like, damn, he's going Giants.
So,
Mike, is he going to do it? Is he going to say it? Like, it sounds like he is. Wait a minute.
Are we reversing the pick order here for the Jets Titans, or do we go back to Novak?
We can reverse the order if you want. That probably makes sense. Yeah. All right. So I'll go first. So everything that Novak just said about the Titans was every single one of my notes on why I'm picking the Jets. They are nondescript. They are existing as a franchise in the NFL. Sometimes that's worse than like what the Giants and Panthers are doing, which is, a laughing stock. They are just like, You look at their logo, you look at everything about them, you're like, this is a team in the NFL? I didn't realize that. And they played at a Super Bowl, right? But I don't know. They're just so there. But I think the Jets rebound very nicely. I agreed with Scott Cost earlier that I thought Rodgers looked old, but I also thought that the Jets protected him a little bit. Mm-hmm. And not just that they took him out of the game when at a time most coaches wouldn't take their starter out, even though the game was over. It was like, we don't need him taking any more hits. Let's roll this one back. Rodgers always gets the ball out fast, but it seems like all the plays were designed to get the ball out fast. I don't think the Jets can coach that way. I hope they realize that this week. They got to let Rodgers play. That's what he's there for. And I agree with Novak's point earlier too, that, a 50% Aaron Rodgers is better quarterback play than they've had in a long time. So, but I have the Jets winning, the defense coming back to life here. Against who are they playing again? Tennessee. Yeah.
Titans.
Winning. They win. The Jets win 24-10.
By the way, to Cardone's point earlier, we already saw Saquon Barkley score 3 touchdowns on Friday night, and then of course Tyrod Taylor comes in and throws a touchdown for the Jets to Alan Lazard at the end of the game. There.
And McKinney had a big interception. Also, this one.
Julian Love had an interception for Seattle too. So I really want to keep going.
Bad weekend.
Kevin Zeitler looked good again. It's just
all guys that Shane let walk out the door.
Yep. Scotty.
So when I look at this game, I mean, again, Novak summed it up perfectly with the Titans. So it was funny. Cardone and I both went to the Clemson App State game. I got to see him briefly. I wish I spent more time at his tailgate. It sounded like a fun time. We ended up hitting up like 5 different places during the Clemson game. But at one of them, somehow we started talking about Will Levis. And the only thing that I remember is that all the girls in the crowd were basically throwing up in their mouth when we said that he puts mayonnaise in his coffee. So that's the only memorable thing about Will Levis. And that's really the only memorable thing about the Titans. I think the Jets win this game. I think this is going to be the ugly game that Novak predicted for the Giants Commanders game. And I see the Jets getting by the Titans 14-9.
Whoa. More single digits. Love it.
Well,
yeah. So before I get into my Jet prediction, I for our YouTube viewers, I'm wearing black tonight, and that was by design. Felt like I went to like not one but like 3 funerals this weekend. So we mentioned Barkley running wild for the Eagles, right, on Friday night. So that's how the weekend started. And Scott just mentioned I can't believe I forgot to bring this up in the intro, but being the App State fan that I am. Being at the game, it was the earliest I've ever left any kind of sporting contest in my life. The earliest I think I've ever left a football game was, I can't remember the year, might have been 2013, I think, was here. The Giants were getting walloped by the Carolina Panthers, hard to believe, 31 or 38-0. We left in the third quarter. I had never left a football game before the fourth quarter my entire life. Saturday night, App State is down 35 to Dick. By the end of the first quarter, the first 2 minutes of the second quarter, it was a blur. Clemson scores another touchdown. It was so. I'm sitting in the App State section, so at least I was surrounded by App State fan base. 42-0. My buddy, my son and I, we look at each other. We're like, what are we doing? We're gonna sit here for the next 2. Let's get the hell out of here. So we left. We walked out of the stadium, went through. This little exit, whatever, and there's a woman there with her like little security vest on or something, and I guess it was weird. It wasn't like we went out the main gate. We went out like this little side door kind of thing. I don't know. I just saw this little exit. I'm like, let's just go out right here. I could see the outside. So she's like, are you coming back? I guess this was the area where you could actually get some kind of ticket to get back in the stadium. So she's like, are you coming back? We have all App State gear on. Are you coming back? I just go, no. Like that, and the guy, there was a guy there too. It was a woman and a man, and the guy's like, why not? Like one of those things. It took everything for me not to like just punch the guy in the throat. Like I'm getting heckled by the guy. So And then I had to watch the Giants on Sunday. So that was my football weekend, just a disaster. And you guys quite wonder why I don't play fantasy football and gamble and all this stuff. Imagine had I had a bad beat in fantasy as well or something. I'd be so you guys, I'd be doing this from a hospital bed this week. But my Jet prediction, I had to sneak that in there. My misery for the weekend. Hisman just said it, and Scott did too. The Jets rebound in a big way, I think. Perfect matchup for them. Tennessee, I think, is a joke. We all saw Will Levis throwing that fucking horseshoe underhand cornhole throw out for a pick six there. I don't know what he was doing. That looked like that was Daniel Jones-esque. I see the Jet defense flying around like lunatics against this Titan team. And I think the Jet offense still run well with Breece Hall. Rodgers, I thought the same thing. But Novak, you mentioned it. Like I guess I didn't consider enough Rodgers being like rusty. I was because we're so used to Aaron Rodgers just being Aaron Rodgers, the great quarterback that he is. I got to obviously you got to give him that. But he did to me. I was thinking the same exact thing. I'm like, man, he looks like a 40-year-old guy out there. Like at times. But we know that he still has a lot of good football left in him in this year. Jets get their first win this week, 27-13 Jets.
Yeah, look, I said it earlier. They had better come out here and dominate this game. They had better because this is what it's all been leading up to is this year, and you cannot go out and, like I said, lay an egg like you did against the 49ers and then come out and lose to the Titans. I do think the Jets are going to come out and play very well, both sides of the ball. Yes, Rodgers looks 40, but you know what? He is 40, so he is older. So I think he's going to play very well, but I don't think he's going to be Aaron Rodgers of old. He doesn't need to be Aaron Rodgers of old. So, Cardone, you actually took the score I was going to take, so I'll just change it to 28-10 Jets.
All right. You could have gone with the same one. It's fine. All right.
That's
I don't know.
Yeah, we got to be different.
If you guys both got it right, then you'd be like, all right. Woohoo!
Yeah.
No outliers here. We will come away from this exactly where we were when coming in.
Oh, that's right. You didn't take the Giants. I keep thinking you took the Giants because of that setup.
Well, I wish I had I went back. I wish I had the guts to take the Vikings last week. I mean, be that as it may, but Novak had the guts, being the Jet fan on in the group here, but I just didn't have the guts to go with the Vikings. I couldn't do it.
The one I would have changed last week was the Jets. I had no doubt the Giants were going to win that game. I wouldn't have changed it. I wouldn't have changed that for anything. I think you remember during the picks last week, I was like, I'm going to pick the 49ers, but I think I might be wrong.
So looking around the NFL, we were talking about this before coming on air. We do our Pet Peeves segment, and I had about 10 pet peeves from Thursday and Friday night games, and then college on Saturday before we even got to Sunday. Once again, we're not going to do much on college, but Colorado, those frauds, everyone's talking about them being in the national championship. And just like we talked about last week, that team is what that team is. Matt Rule's Nebraska team dominated them. I think it was 30-0 at one point. Shedeur Sanders threw his offensive line under the bus. It's that is a 4 to 5 win team in college football. But to go to around the NFL, a lot of interesting stuff. Watching the Lions and the Rams game. Did you guys know that Matthew Stafford used to play for the Lions?
Oh my God, you're right. If they had said that one more time.
I didn't
get
realize.
over it already.
Years ago.
Oh, God.
I had a lot of beef with Collinsworth this week too. I mean, there was a throw that Stafford made I think it was the second quarter, and Collinsworth actually said that might be the best pass of the season we see, and this is week one, and these guys with their superlatives. He praises so many mundane plays. Just let us watch the game. Don't sit there and tell us everything's the best ever. This is the best ever. That's the best ever. For as good as it was, I didn't hear a peep about McVay passing up a sure field goal on a 4th and 4 that failed. That would have given him a lead that would have negated the need to go to overtime.
Collinsworth doesn't know the overtime rules. Did you hear that? No, because he kept going, well, the Lions are just going to try to get closer to kick a field goal. And Tirico goes, well, they got to get a touchdown so that, the Rams can't get the ball back. He didn't know that they changed the rule 4 years ago.
I was going to say that's been in place for years now.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, never mind in the freaking Super Bowl, we had for the first team ever, a team with the lead in overtime lost the game.
Yeah.
So go figure that out. First team ever to lead in overtime and lose a game.
Which, by the way, the rules in playoffs for overtime are different than the regular season.
Now, don't tell Collinsworth that. You're going to mess him up.
Yes,
man.
they are.
So if you score a touchdown in overtime in the playoffs, the other team gets a chance to come back now.
It's insane.
The Patrick Mahomes rule.
And the 4 downs that we know. We've talked about that a million times in pet peeves and stuff. The team who's now trailing, well, they got that extra down. What? What does that mean? What do you mean?
Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, that Chiefs-Ravens game, and this will get to my pet peeve here, but guys, we saw so many flags come out on the Ravens for illegal formations in the first half. And then we're watching the Chiefs tackles do the Eagles move where they're moving early. It's even being pointed out on the broadcast, and then they're trying to rationalize it. Well, he's just trying to get a little jump there. Yeah, he's trying to get a little jump there. He's getting a little jump there. That's an offensive penalty. I don't care what they say. So they're cracking down on these illegal formations, which, by the way, it looked like Kansas City had just as many offensive formations that were staggered like that. They were getting flags on them. At one point, they panned to John Harbaugh, and his face was like, looked like, what the fuck?
Yep. The Giants had one, and they whistled that shit immediately.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't wait to come out there. And
they had 5 of those calls against the Ravens, 15 against the rest of the league for the rest of the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow.
Insert Chiefs opponent name here for next year.
Exactly.
100% yes.
Yep.
Guys, I think we're going to see this all year. And I think this is one of those situations where the Chiefs are going to get some favorable outcomes, and we're just going to deal with it. It is going to be another Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce love fest. You could tell just by the way they're setting everything up. We heard about Taylor Swift before half an hour before kickoff ever happened. We watched her walk down the tunnel going into the game.
It's insufferable, man.
Yep.
So, pet peeves. You guys got anything else from around the league first?
Now, I will acknowledge for Peacock, if he's listening, that yes, Michigan stinks. However, Notre Dame stinks more, dude. So
just that I was going to ask, is Justin Fields starting this week, or we have to keep up on our weekly Fields?
They think he's starting again. Well, he won, so
Good. Yeah,
he won, and the Steelers were the only other team by the Giants, by the way, not to score a touchdown, and yet he was getting universal praise for his throws.
Of course.
We know who needs to get universal praise? Mike Tomlin. Can someone please recognize that this guy's the best coach in the league?
If he's not the coach of the year every year, it's a fraudulent vote. I swear to God.
Agreed.
He somehow gets 4 or 5 more wins out of a team that shouldn't have them.
We were right. Remember, guys, our eyes kept going over to the Steeler-Falcon game. We're like, and one of us each time, like, look at the ferocity of this Pittsburgh defense.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you talk about winning cultures and stuff. They're the opposite. They're the anti-Giants because the Giants don't know how to win. Pittsburgh, they don't know how to lose that team. They just make the playoffs every year. Every year we try to bury that team. Tomlin trying to run him out of town. I don't know. They got Justin Fields running around. This team's still winning road games in week 1 at supposedly a good Atlanta team. Like you said, kudos to Mike Tomlin, man. The guy's just obviously a phenomenal coach, and I don't know how the Steelers do it every year. I really don't.
By the way, guys,
I know it's only 1, but yeah,
something to keep in mind with the AFC North is that Bengals team. I think we're going to see possibly Joe Burrow slide down into the mediocre level, and that Bengals team have a rough season this year.
I agree.
Would not be surprised. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. To slide back to Cardone's thing a little bit. If there's one player in this league who can be Tomlin's kryptonite, he's got him on his roster right now. So
True.
So
if he
let's
can
keep
win
an
with
eye on that.
if Pittsburgh, has another one of those 10-7 seasons, makes the playoff, that kind of thing, and with Justin Fields running around, then Mike Tomlin is the greatest coach in the history of planet Earth.
Might be.
Yeah.
So Novak, pet peeves.
Yeah. I'll try not to go too long, but I had so many pet peeves this week. Like I had like a list of 15. I could have gone to that clown Deion Sanders, that creep Deshaun Watson. Like I had so many things that annoyed me about the media and the pre-games and the schedule and the officiating. So many. But so I couldn't decide. So what I decided to do was, what was I first angry about? So I'm going to go all the way back to Thursday.
Thursday, yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I was ripping pissed after the first score of the season. And I'm like, first of all, who is this guy? Who the hell is this Xavier Watson, who looks like he is shot out of a fucking cannon running into the end zone with another weapon that the Chiefs have?
Xavier
Right? So
Worthy, by the way.
Worthy, sorry.
Worthy.
Whatever. Where the fuck his name is. I was so pissed. So I'm like, where did this guy come from? Who is he? So I'm on the computer, I'm looking. And I'm like, they couldn't have gotten him at like pick 32. Oh no, they did not. They traded up. Do you know who they traded up with to get him?
Bills?
Yeah. That
Oh God.
moronic organization in Buffalo. Buffalo, they own you. Why are you trading with them to get up and get this guy? So here's how that call must have gone on draft night. You ready for this? Right? Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Bills, what's up, little brother? The Chiefs, how you doing? Hey, listen, sorry that we embarrassed you again in the playoffs this year. With Jason out there getting naked and Taylor in your box. I know it was a bad look. Listen, 7 years ago when you traded up so we could get Mahomes, can you do us another solid, please? We kind of need to replace Xavier or Tyreek Hill. We need another weapon. Well, I don't know, guys. I mean, we traded for you 7 years ago. Can we do it again? Listen, guys, listen. We'll get Patrick Mahomes to sign a ball over to you guys. We'll put Travis on there. Just trade up with us. It's no big deal. You'll get someone good at 33. Okay, we'll do that. No problem.
Yeah.
Here's a message to the Bills organization. If the Chiefs call you, don't answer the phone. Sorry, Devin Tier, but this organization to trade with a team that you were their bitch for the last 7 years, and you're trading with them to give them their two best players now.
That's spot on.
Don't answer the phone. Take a lesson from Dr. Rick in those progressive commercials about becoming a parent. Can anyone tell us what the Bills did wrong? They didn't leave a. They picked up the phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Dr. Rick where the one guy's called his friend in like Memphis to warn him about the weather that's coming through. Oh,
Yeah.
you got a front that's coming through Tuesday.
Dr. Rick's awesome.
Guys, I hate commercials. I love the Dr. Rick commercials.
Oh yeah.
Love the guy.
That and Mayhem. For some reason, the Mayhem
be a-
commercials always crack me
Mayhem
up.
be
are
a-
the best.
Television show.
Cardone, pet peeve?
Yeah, I think mine's going to be relatively short, guys. To be honest, I was like Novak. There's a lot of things week one that just piss you off and get you angry and all that. But I'm going to keep mine in house with the New York Giants, because my pet peeve is centered around and we've probably talked about this before in other seasons and pods and things of that sort. But I was waiting to hear. I wanted to hear Dable and Jones's post-game press conference, and I wanted to hear something just like the game itself. Give me something different. I heard Dable trotted out the old saying that he has to look at the tape. What in the fuck do you have to look at the tape to tell you that was just grotesque? It was a horrific effort. It was not even an NFL game. So what tape do you have to look at, Brian? So I'm looking for something different, and other than that, and Daniel Jones saying, I just have to play better. I got to play better. And I knew he was going to say it. Those comments right there from those guys, I can't take it. I've seen anyone who follows the Yankees, right? Where a lot of Giant fans are Yankee fans. I've been hearing this with Aaron Boone after his post-game press conferences. I don't want to, cross sports here, but it's the same thing, guys, where I want to hear something intelligent. I want to hear some kind of fervor. There it is. No, I want to hear something that shows that we better get our asses straight after this performance because everyone's job is on the line. That is pitiful, piss poor Giant football. The fans deserve better. We all deserve just better than what they put out there. And to hear that Dable has to look at the tape and Jones simply with his flat, I just got to play better, guys. I can't take it. And if they go out and lose and shit the bed like they did again, and I hear those kinds of post game press conferences, sound bites, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah. The tape thing, everyone trots that one out.
I gotta look at the tape
single week. Can't we? You're right. Can't they come up with something different? Anything would be refreshing.
Anything.
By the way, no one's looking at tape anymore. They're looking at streaming.
That's true.
Exactly.
Stream video.
Brian Dable.
The Giants might be looking at tape.
Yeah. That might be part of the problem. Dable, why are you not looking at digital streams? What the fuck?
No, I'm looking at the tape. Scotch tape, masking tape.
He's got the Greg Brady film that he's developing for the sideline catch.
Yeah.
The VHS tracking button where the screen was bouncing, and for some reason you turn that little dial on the tracking, whatever the hell that did. I didn't know any button on a VCR except the tracking button. There were 45 buttons. Uncle Dan was the first person ever to purchase a VHS. That thing was the size of a fucking refrigerator. It was $850 back in 1980, and there were 45 buttons on this thing. The only one I knew how to work was the tracking button. That was it.
Yeah. It had the remote that was connected to the remote was connected to it.
Did you get your tapes at Lincroft Video?
Oh my God! Remember that place?
Next to Dairy Queen?
Yes. Lincroft Video.
You used to return the tape, and you drop in. There was a pillow on the ground so it wouldn't break when you dropped in the little slot.
Right in the little mail slot or little.
That shit
slot.
better be rewound.
Yep. Be kind and rewind.
$2.
No kids these days know about rewinding. They've never had to rewind. They're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, rewinding.
Mike.
Yeah, I my pet peeve this week. I think this is the third time that I've done this now. I think I did it once because my pet peeve is me, and I think I did it once because I'm too optimistic, and then I think I did it another time about how I let this kind of thing ruin my week, ruin my, those were two of them. But this time I'm mad at myself and pissed off about myself for. I should not be on a podcast. I am the worst predictor of things. I don't even know. I mean, I got a list here. I should not. So last week, this is what started it, right? So I picked the New York Giants to win, not just a win, a big win. Borderline Grey Goose game, I think is the term I used. In my bold predictions were the Giants would score on D and Darnold wouldn't finish the game. So Darnold almost didn't finish the game because it was such a fucking blowout. They could have taken him out at any point. So I could have backdoored that one, I guess. But what the fuck gives me any confidence to predict that? Where's that coming from? Anyone listening to the podcast who's not a Giants fan is probably thinking, this guy is smoking crack. How can you say those things? And they're right. There couldn't be more right. It doesn't end there. All right. You guys know for years, Daniel Jones, he'll be fine. Daniel Jones will be fine. Get the offensive line fixed. This guy's a Pro Bowl player. Justin Fields now. I'll say that wasn't a bad prediction, but he's still fucking playing, isn't he? Still out there. Still out there. I actually went on record with my friends back in the day and said Peyton Manning will be a bust. That's the exact quote from me. Peyton Manning's going to be a bust. And the other thing I did was I was so confident that the Giants were going to win Super Bowl 35 against the Ravens. I wrote a fucking article to the newspaper and lit them up for predicting the Ravens. And I said, you watch. The Giants are going to win this thing so easy. There's hundreds more I can think of. I should keep my mouth shut. I take Novak's advice. When a thought comes in my head, don't answer the phone. Just or go Costanza and do the opposite. So yeah, that my pet peeve is me for the third time, I believe over the seasons. I just don't know what I'm talking about.
It's a great one.
It is.
So, wouldn't be me if I wasn't going to rip on the officials. And I'm not ripping on the officials for the Giants game. I thought that Adoree Jackson pass interference call was absolute bullshit. And here's my biggest part about that is how do we look at plays in minutia. We're looking to see if some guy's knee touched a blade of grass before he fumbles the ball. Yet we're allowing an offensive player to just mug a defensive player, and there's no recourse when that flag comes out and it's on the defensive guy. So I'm going to put that play aside because it still boggles my mind that we had a course in action to challenge replay for pass interference, and the refs basically colluded to say this is not going to work. We're going to fucking shut this down because that's what they ended up doing.
Yep.
But this is week 1, guys. And so many games were flag fests. It started with that Ravens-Chiefs game, but every game, a team starts getting momentum. This is professional football. It's exciting. And every time there's momentum, you either have a flag that comes out that stops the momentum, you have a challenge that has to happen to stop the momentum. Things come grinding to a halt. Something has to change to improve the flow because it's getting out of hand the number of times we see something called that has no impact on the play whatsoever. So I'm going to give you a stat here. There were 19 teams. So there's only 32? Mm-hmm. There's 32 teams. 19 of them had 8 or more flags thrown during this week.
Wow.
So more than half the league had 8 flags thrown on them. The refs, they just can't become part of the game. Yet we keep legislating these new rules in place. They have to do, and now we're starting to look at things like illegal formations and stuff like that. Does it really matter if someone is 6 inches off the line? I think illegal formation, to be honest with you, is a bogus. It's one of those bogus calls because does it give anyone an advantage if you see someone staggered?
The Chiefs.
Yeah. Well, it gives, and the funniest thing about the Chiefs is one of the biggest plays that we talked about saying that the refs shouldn't ever call it was that ridiculous Kadarius Toney play last year where he was obviously offsides before the play, and yet they were like, but it was a good play to Travis Kelce afterwards. You took away an all-time great play because of a procedural issue. Meanwhile, we're calling procedural after procedural on the Ravens. It just does not add up to me. And I think the NFL has a problem brewing because the younger generation does not have the attention spans that we did. And you cannot continue to have lulls in the game where there's no action because of flags. There was a sequence I was watching. I think it was the Ravens game. There were 7 consecutive plays where there was a flag thrown.
That's insane.
How do you justify it?
You can't. And you think about like every time there is a big score, the phrase "no flags" has to come out by the commentator. Shouldn't the assumption be that there isn't a flag? It should be, oh my God, there's a flag, not no flags, right? Why? And it's said every time there's a touchdown.
Yep.
Now I bristle bringing this up because the Bills were beneficiaries of a couple calls in their favor, but there was a play in that game where Kyler Murray slides down. The Bill defender coming in does exactly what he's supposed to do, arches his body out of the way not to touch Murray, and they still throw the flag 15 yards, and he's untouched. So they can't, and you can't review it. So once that flag comes out and the guy says, well, he roughed him, even though he never touched the guy, you have no recourse. And I don't get that because 15-yard penalties or pass interference penalties, they're critical plays. Those are plays that lead to touchdowns and lead to scores.
Love the word flag fest.
It really was a flag fest.
I know.
So, it's like,
it was a good point. I think we've talked about this before, but the Giants play, the interference play was a good example of it. The refs, when they're watching a defender and a receiver go at it, they're not looking for offensive interference. And that's why it doesn't get called so much. They're just thinking, is the defender going to interfere? I mean, if we had the benefit of replay, and I was against replay for pass interference, I probably still am. But if we had the benefit of it on that play, I'm convinced that gets overturned. Now, I know they couldn't retroactively put it on the, call it offensive interference if they didn't call it on the field. But I'm not, those calls where a lot of times if a defender starts to kind of interfere, the offensive guy fights back worse. And that should at least be a no call.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be.
You never see offsetting pass interference penalties either.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we got a ton of questions this week. Of course, Rogers has not Rogers. Peacock has his usual assortment.
Are you saying he's a dick? I mean, what's happening?
Yeah.
His first question is about Rogers.
Okay.
So I will ask this to Novak first. So I sort of mentioned this too. Did Rogers look really slow and old? Yeah, I think you answered this earlier, saying no, but
I don't. No, I think there are moments. I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to escape the pocket much. I don't think he's going to do that Rodgers thing where he used to do, where he'd, scamper for 8 yards on a 3rd and 7 and get a first down. Those days are over. Can he still sling it, and can he still find the open receiver? Yeah, sure. So, like I said, he doesn't need to be Aaron Rodgers of 2018. He needs to be Aaron Rodgers 50% of what he was, and this team can win 11 games. So that's my response to that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
He also asks for us, and this is a tough one. I still don't know if I have the answer to this. Who do you blame most for the past 2 years with the Giants? And he wants us to boil it down to one name. So since I don't know this answer, I'm going to punt it to Mike first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can blame Dable, because last year, I'm not sure how we got 6 wins. Did we get 6 wins last year?
6. Yeah, 6.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that team got 6 wins. I actually think that was an example of a well-coached season to somehow get that team to 6 wins. Can't blame Jones because he barely played. I'll take the Novak route here. I blame Shane if they want me to break it down to one name.
Yep.
Cardone?
Can I blame Gettleman? Can I mean,
you're sort of taking what I was going.
Are you serious?
The leftover from Gettleman's regime.
Well, seriously, I saw the clip on, I forget where I saw it the other day, of Gettleman talking about, I guess what, the draft of Jones. What year was that? 19? When did Jones come out? Yeah.
19.
And talking about his love for Daniel Jones. He didn't really give anything specific. I don't know exactly the context of this video. I just saw this video clip of Gettleman. I hated Gettleman when they brought him from Carolina to the Giants, and his decision to pick Jones, we're still paying for it. Like when it's, and I know he's long gone, obviously, but his name resonated this week, and it's because of the pick of Daniel Jones that. This is hard, right? Peacock's asking us to boil it down to one name. It's not. That's so hard. It's not just one name, because then I could name Shane. I can name Mara. I can name Mara, for God's sakes. But I know it's probably a lame pick, but I'm going with Gettleman for sticking us with Jones. We had a 6th pick in the draft that year, and we take a guy from fucking Duke University. No one's winning a championship for Duke if it's not basketball. Knock it off.
So I'm going to stick with Gettleman too, but I don't blame him for the Jones pick. I really don't. We needed a quarterback. He had the conviction to take a quarterback. I blame Gettleman for all the other things. Just the trade for Alec Ogletree. Some of the free agent signings. We bid against ourselves for Leonard Williams. Things that happened that ate up
Galladay?
cap space. Galladay is a great example. I mean, Galladay was done when he got here. I don't even blame him for Saquon Barkley, because Saquon Barkley, again, is probably one of the best Giants to play for us in the last several years. Should you pick a running back at number 2? Probably not. But Gettleman's inability to rebuild the offensive line, coupled with some of his free agent moves and his overspending on his own players, bothered the shit out of me. Yeah. So I'd pin this on Gettleman. We're still digging out of this. I have more faith in Joe Schoen than Novak does right now, but Joe Schoen, everyone on this team right now is on alert.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I won't blame Gettleman for is that he took Jones. He got pretty beat up for it at the time, but the pick they all thought he should have taken was Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
So at least we dodged that bullet.
Yeah,
give him that.
But don't forget that Shane had the ability. Shane had the ability to move away from Jones, and he didn't. Just remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, I try to put myself in Shane's like position though. After 2022, what do you do if you're a GM and you just watched your team go to the playoffs and your quarterback looked pretty damn good in several of those games? That's the tough part to me. You if you let him go and then he goes somewhere and succeeds, you're screwed too.
Yeah, but he's paid millions to know that he can't play.
Yeah. I actually said this today, guys. Thought about it, and I would never say this normally, but the way things have panned out, I almost wish now the Giants did not. I wish Jones and the Giants did not win that wild card game against Minnesota. I wish that because that was year 4 of Jones. We could have parted ways with Jones had that season. Had they not made the playoffs and obviously gone on to win a playoff game, and that's when I was like, we have our quarterback, we have our guy. We all rallied around Daniel Jones, right? Myself included. We tried our best to do that, and we thought we had our guy. But he, it's almost, and I've never said that, about a Giant season or having wished that we didn't win an actual playoff game. But had that not happened, Daniel Jones would probably not be in a Giant uniform right now. We wouldn't be even talking about this. And it's just for whatever reason that was supposed to happen, and we're now, we're dealing with Jones and everything else like the roster you just mentioned, Scott, in terms of, you're right. The inability to get a solid offensive line just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I can't, I don't watch as much college as you guys, offensive line, that kind of thing. You just have to trust the draft gurus and experts and all those kinds of things. When I watch on draft night, I don't know who the great offensive linemen are coming out, but the fact that we got guys like Evan Neal and others that just have been busts. I don't know why we can't get that figured out. So I'm kind of going off on a little sideways here, but
Evan Neal was a no-brainer pick.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah,
he was like one of those Robert Gallery picks. You had to take him.
Yeah, it's not even the pick; it's just the fact that he's just the guy's a bust. I guess it's just. Yep. I'm just pissed off about that. Yeah, at the time I was cheering. I was thrilled about the pick. Like, oh, we have a tackle from Alabama. It's Alabama. I mean, they're basically they already have like pro credits. It's like college. It's like college course credits when you start as a freshman. Like, oh, this guy's already at the pro level. But anyway.
The other question he has 2 more questions, but one of them is our thoughts on the throwback uniforms. I love the helmet. I hate the uniform itself. And it's one of those things where we're going to use it once. Just don't bring it back.
Yeah. I think they're slated to wear that again at least one more time this year, aren't they? We can look at the uniform schedule. They are at least one more.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's just for the 100th season. So once they make the decision, I don't think they can reverse that. I don't think they can not. I think, isn't that the rule of the NFL, guys? Like, once you make your uniform decision at the beginning of the year, I don't think you can change it.
Oh, I don't know. I'm
pretty sure you can.
No idea.
It's ridiculous. We have uniform rules like that where you can choose between one of 5 different uniforms that you have in your arsenal.
Yeah. But they won't. Yeah, I think we were saying before we came on, the Giants in their recent alternate jerseys. Remember we trotted out the red jerseys back in like 04, 05, 06, whatever it was. I think they were 1-7 in the red jerseys. Have you noticed? We never saw those again. What does it matter? We're fucking 60 and 103 anyway. Regardless of what we're wearing, bring them back. Yeah. I like the red jerseys. Yeah, but those uniforms on Sunday. I mean, what? It's just. We know it's just for the 100th season, but I think we have to deal with them one more time. this year. Unfortunately, they're gross.
And then he also, I didn't hear this exchange, but he said apparently LT was overheard saying he could grab, a bunch of guys from the Giants top 100, like 22 guys from the Giants top 100 and outplay the current Giants team. So, Peacock, I blanked on Peacock's name. Peacock asked, could the top 100 players assemble and take what the scraps are out of those top 100 players? Could they beat the current team? I'll tell you what, give me Eli Manning any day of the week. There's a possibility.
Eli still look like he could go.
I'll put LT
Angels
out there too. LT and Banks. They probably, as old men, could probably still do okay.
I tell you what, they may not win the 100, but I'd be rooting for them. I tell you, I know how I'd be pulling for. You're damn right. It'd be the Super Bowl champion version, Giant 100 players, not the scrubs that I'm, that's on our current roster. I'd definitely be rooting for those guys. I'll tell you that.
Surely there's 53 of those 100 that are alive. I like this idea. Let's do it.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Can't we computerize that game somehow? They must be able to do that.
Sure we can.
Oh, I'm sure we can do simulations here.
Yeah, the simulation. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
So Tony P asks us a question. Basically the decision to pay Jones $160 million, does that jive with the QB recruiting that they were doing on Hard Knocks, and why the change of heart? My take on this is that the Giants realized at the end of last year that Daniel Jones is not the long-term solution for them. They went and tried to get Drake May. I think once they couldn't get Drake May, they're not going to go out and get McCarthy. They're not going to get Penix. They're not going to get Bo Nix. They're not going to get these other guys. I think what they'll do is they'll ride with Daniel Jones and Drew Lock and DeVito for this season. And next year, either bring in a veteran or try and trade up for one of the quarterback prospects. I know people are saying the quarterback class next year isn't going to be too deep, but you do have veterans out there. I mean, Atlanta went the Cousins route. I don't know if that'll work out for them, but there are quarterbacks out there that are veterans that you could possibly bring in. So I think they paid Jones the $160 million. We talked about it just a second ago. We bought into it after that Vikings win, and after watching him last year, it wasn't so much his play as much as him getting injured. And once you have those injury concerns, he can't stay on the field. And then now he's back. He doesn't look like he has the confidence to throw the ball accurately. And maybe the injuries have caught up to him.
Yeah.
But I think we've made the decision to move on from him. It's just a matter of moving on.
Yeah. You mentioned we were pretty actively trying to move up to the Patriots slot in Hard Knocks. So not to mention, just sometimes people don't think about these things. So if the Giants had made the decision in the last 2 or 3 years to go ahead and move on from Jones, there's really been only one QB hit so far. All the new QBs played like dog shit, maybe except for Richardson in week 1 here, right? So who's the other young quarterbacks in the league? Is Bo Nix better than Daniel Jones? Will Levis, Bryce Young, Justin Fields? Herbert's been a bust. Jaden Daniels looked terrible. Caleb Williams was almost laughable. By the way,
Bryce
Young.
How about Deshaun Watson? Don't forget him. He's garbage.
Oh, yeah, Deshaun. There's been like one real big hit so far. And again, these guys are young, but CJ Stroud is really the one younger NFL quarterback who's come out and played very well from the start. And Brock Purdy is the other one, but anybody could have had him.
Well, even talking about Richardson, Richardson on Sunday had 9 completions.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I just saw that one throw he made that dropped my throw.
Incredible.
Yeah. It was
who was it? Sam Howell, Mac Jones,
Zach Wilson.
Zach. It's getting a little bit older now. Yeah.
And we don't even go back to guys like Rosen. Josh Rosen never really ended up starting a game. Maybe he started one. That might be it.
Yeah.
He was out with Darnold.
I'm assuming you guys saw the the statistic on Jones since he signed that contract that he's thrown more touchdowns to the opposition than to his own team?
Yeah.
3-2.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wild. The guy has 2 touchdown passes in his last like 9 starts or something.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
I think he's only started 6 games since he
Yeah.
signed the contract or
it's
something.
been pretty bad in that
Yeah.
regard. So Alex Lyko asks us too. And this is a variation of what we're talking about. How can Dable put Jones back out there? He's shot, and what is the downside of trying either lock? And my attitude on this is that Jones had a terrible game. He's also coming off of ACL injury, which is not an excuse, but I think if we've made a mistake in the offseason, it's that Drew Lock is our backup quarterback, because I don't think Drew Lock really brings you anything more than Daniel Jones gives you. So I think you will see Daniel Jones get trot out there this week. I think Daniel Jones has a very short leash. I think if he does not, like I mentioned earlier, he could get pulled at halftime if they're not doing well. If they lose, he could be benched before game 3. If not, he's going to be on watch the rest of the year. And guys, I still go back to the whole point that if Daniel Jones is not our starting quarterback, then we're not going to do anything. So, it's a lost season. So that's why I've always rooted for Jones, because the alternative to Jones not succeeding is that we're going to suck.
Yeah. I mean, does anyone really think Drew Lock is going to come in and win 9 games?
No.
Really? I mean, it's insane. Listen, the biggest thing I hated about this past week was it was just chum. It was chum for the Jones haters. Scott, you brought up a point nobody's mentioning. Jones is back pretty early from an ACL injury here. And even those who have come back this early have not played well. They usually got to get a season removed from it. Now, Jones doesn't have that luxury. If he doesn't play well this season, there's no excuse. He's gone. But yeah, it's one game, just like it's one game for the young quarterbacks I talked about. It's one game for Daniel Jones. He could get better. He's got the best shot on this roster to get better and win 8 or 9 games. Drew Lock's not going to do it. Danny DeVito's not going to do it, whatever his name is. And there's no quarterback sitting on his couch watching TV right now who we have available to us who's going to do it. So when guys say things like that, like, what's to lose? Well, fuck, it's week 2. Everything's to lose. Everything's to lose.
The thing about the injury with Jones, this is one of the things that's perplexing to me when we talk about our strategy and our game plan. Why the hell, if Jones is coming off an ACL, do we have design runs for him on like 6 different plays during that game?
I actually thought that was encouraging, even though they didn't go anywhere. But
yeah. Well, the only difference I can see, and maybe he has come back too early, and it's the pro athlete, ego or whatever to not bench yourself or tell your team that you're not ready to go. But the only difference between having a Drew Lock and Daniel Jones in is that Jones at times in that game he literally looked scared to me. He looked as uncomfortable on a football field as I've seen him in his entire career. On certain plays, now maybe not the whole game, but there were certain plays where if the pocket was collapsing, there were certain, he literally looked uncomfortable in his own skin out there. Now, is Drew Lock going to present that much better? I don't think so. We're in a lose-lose situation. That's the problem. Yeah. When you have a bad team like this and you have bad play and you have a bad offense and all those things, I know, fans and myself included, like, we just want change. You just want to see a different body out there. You just want to see a different guy running around. That's most of the time what it comes down to. I don't think anyone would say Locke is going to come out, like you said, 9 games. No, he's not going to do that. But it's almost as if like I can't take this guy anymore. So just give me this other guy. That's it.
Yeah, I get that.
As Sal said in our opening soundbite, I can't watch Daniel Jones. I love how to use. If you guys notice, he slipped in the word attempt to play quarterback. He didn't say, I can't watch Daniel Jones play quarterback. I can't watch Daniel Jones attempt to play quarterback. And I think that's what happens. And I'll use a Yankee reference again. I watch a lot, Yankee fans. Anyone who's watched the Yankees and anyone who's watched Clay Holmes, our closer this year, the guy's blown like fucking 13 saves, right? So it's like it's one of those things where like Boone, stop bringing in this guy, switch it up, or put him in middle relief. It's the same kind of concept where like I know like starting quarterback is not like a bullpen where you change guys throughout the game. Obviously, you don't have that luxury, but I think it's the same mindset where like just give me something different to look at and I can stomach it. That's what it is. I think when you have the same guy, it's just I can't stomach this guy anymore.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, you guys know I've been a big Daniel Jones supporter the whole time and made every excuse for him you could make. And in my opinion, he's out of excuses. But to me, that doesn't change the fact that he's the best shot we've got. And I still want to win games.
Yeah. How sad is it that as our franchise, our other alternative to Daniel Jones is a guy who's another failed quarterback from the same class as Daniel Jones, who is probably best well known for sitting on a sideline doing lyrics to a song. If you guys know the one where Drew Lock's caught like he's on the sideline singing like some rap song when he's at Denver like this. And I'm like, the hell? This is the guy that you're going to put in if Jones is out, and that's what we're relying on.
He's the third highest paid backup in the league, just so you know.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
He is making less than Tyrod was at the Giants. By about $1 million.
So that was Shane's answer to that. By the way, the Giants need to spend money and get a backup quarterback. Well, they did that. They spent money and got a backup quarterback. This got a shitty one.
So and this goes into that discussion because my buddy Mike Harrison asks a couple questions here. First off, can the yips be fixed? He's saying that Jones has the yips. I disagree that Jones has the yips. I think Jones has more of a mental. This is almost to me a David Carr situation where he's been so battered over the years from the offensive line that he doesn't have a pocket presence anymore. I don't think that's the yips. I think that's him. He's either too afraid to make a mistake by throwing the ball downfield, or he doesn't give himself a chance to throw the ball downfield because he feels the rush too quickly, which I think is different from the yips. But he does ask, if we have a backup quarterback, do you prefer Locke or Tommy Cutlets, DeVito? I actually personally I prefer DeVito.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, like you said, it doesn't matter to me. Whoever they want to bring, whoever they think's best, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a preference. I can't believe I'm saying this week one, talking about preferences between Locke and Cutlets. I mean, I don't. It's week fucking 2, and we're talking about Cutlets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't signify our season's over. What does then?
Yeah.
If we cut DeVito, does another team pick him up? No. I don't think they do.
The Panthers might.
Yeah, that's true.
They might.
I think he's only on an NFL roster because the Giants like him.
The guy I feel bad for is Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was he was a solid starter for the Bengals, gets kicked to the curb, and then every time he's had a chance as a backup, he's done a much better than the starter and still stays the backup.
Yeah.
If he does not give the Panthers a better chance to win than Bryce Young, then I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at as a football fan.
That's insane. That Andy Dalton's backing up Bryce Young with his sparkling 32.8 quarterback rating.
Bryce Young.
So the last question of the night is also from Mike. He asks, from the rookies that we have on the team, who are we looking to see get snaps? And outside of Neighbors, I'll tell you who impressed me in this game, Drew Phillips. Drew Phillips came up and made the play that caused the fumble that I think Okirky recovered that led to the 3-0 lead. But here's the thing. I think Drew Phillips was on the field for less than 20 snaps. Guys, I was talking about roster management earlier tonight. Isaiah Simmons was on the field for 0 snaps. He didn't get on the field at all. So to Novak's point about what Shane is doing, why do we re-sign a guy, Isaiah Simmons, who was a first-round pick out of Clemson, who is not playing at all, and he couldn't have helped that defense in some capacity. So outside of Drew Phillips, I thought Tyler Nubin looked good. Give Nubin as many snaps as possible out there. The one guy he came down with the interception, Muasau, the linebacker from UCLA. He didn't impress me other than that. I mean, he was in a good place and a good time for that play, but otherwise he was getting beat, I thought, pretty regularly. But out of rookies, I mean, those are the guys right now, I think.
I want to see more of Tracy.
Well, I want to see more of Theo Johnson too, but yeah.
Theo Johnson, yeah, he had a drop, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to say he's not a rookie anymore, but is Jalen Hyatt a bust? I mean, this is his second year, right? He's a rookie last year.
Another guy. He only played something like 17 snaps
I know.
in that game.
Is he? I mean, the guy, he's invisible. I don't know what part of the game plan he's a part of. I mean, we need, and of course, it all depends on a quarterback getting the ball to our receivers. But I mean, I'm counting Hyatt, even though he's a second-year guy. But he's supposed to be an explosive talent. I think that's what we were led to believe last year. And the guy's invisible, man. He's nowhere near to be found in any offensive scheme. And we have no playmakers right now. So if Neighbors is going to be the guy to get the attention and get the, double teams, this and that, well, then Hyatt, step up. Okay. You're supposed to be like, you're not a number. You're not even a starter, but what he's 17 snaps, Scott. That's what it was.
Yeah.
We need more than that. No, we need a hell of a lot more than that from a guy of his talent. So need more from that guy.
He's a waste on this offense right now, especially in week 1, because we're not going to throw the ball deep, which is his game.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. But guys, we see teams. So I mean, look at the week Tyreek Hill had this past week. I mean, he's obviously the whole situation with him getting pulled over before the game and things like that. But Miami makes a point of trying at least several times a game to get him free downfield, and that's his specialty. He's a fast player. They throw the ball to him, and he comes down with it. He gets 80-yard catches every once in a while. Every now and then he catches an intermediate one and takes it to the house. We're not using our skill players in that way. And think about Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors could be that guy. He could be that guy to stretch a defense, but we're not even taking the shots downfield.
Yeah. We've taken the most dynamic receiver in college football, and we've got him running 6-yard curls.
Yep. Yep. 6-yard hitches and curls.
Yep.
So Novak, this has been a very Giants-heavy podcast. Any parting thoughts on the Jets or anything you want to say that we haven't covered?
No, we're running up on time here, so no. All I'm going to say is they better fucking win this weekend. That's all I care about, and they should. So let's see how it goes.
So we are the 3 Angry Giant fans and a Jet fan. Hit us up. Well, first off, check our website. It's angryfootballfans.com. We're going to put new content out there during the year. We're doing a little bit of mashups on some of the pet peeves that we'll see. That seems to be a segment that's really popular, as well as some of the takes that we have. But again, we'll be back next week. This is your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. Next week, we'll be back to recap week 2 and talk about all the shenanigans we'll see then as well.
Real quick. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact we are recording this on 9/11, and I think it's important for us to offer our respect to those we lost, their loved ones, and to send our gratitude to those who protect us. So it's an important day in our history. And
now I feel bad I feel bad that you mentioned this at the end. We didn't lead with this. I also feel bad that we had a presidential debate the eve before 9/11. Because to me, it sort of cheapens 9/11 that we have a country divided before we go into a day like 9/11.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah.
Good call, Novak.
Yeah.
Good thoughts. So we'll be back next week, talk about the Giants Commanders and the Jets Titans. And guys, hopefully we can get back to being just an NFL football team and one of us gets a win.
That'd be nice.
I'm longing to be the Titans right now.
Yes.
Titans would be good.